A bummer of a strange Switch delay pushed back multiple months, and a very bizarre conversation on the unnecessary nature of Switch 2 backwards compatibility. That's what you've got coming your way, so buckle up, get some popcorn, and good morning, Mario. Good morning, Switch fans. Hope you're all doing fantastic. I find this news bizarre, and so I'm going to break it down in a Zach fashion that I think will hopefully shed some light and maybe change some minds out there. But first, we kick it off with a little Batman Arkham Trilogy news. Now, this game was supposed to arrive on Switch next week, Friday, October 13th. Perfect timing right before Halloween, bringing Batman glory to Nintendo Switch. And given all the other ports we've had on the system, it should be fairly easy. Think again, because Rocksteady and Warner Brothers Games are delaying Batman Arkham Trilogy from October 13th to December 1st. Now, they say Batman Arkham Trilogy for Nintendo Switch will now launch on December 1. More time is needed to bring players the best possible experience on Nintendo Switch. We apologize to fans who are excited to play this version of the trilogy. Thank you for your patience. The issue with this is that Batman Arkham Trilogy should not need more time. These games are nice games, but they're a decade old. The Witcher 3 runs on Nintendo Switch. Monster Hunter Rise plus Sunbreak runs on Nintendo Switch. There really should not be an issue with Batman Arkham Trilogy running on Nintendo Switch. This speaks to one of two things. One, Switch, again, is just too darn old. Or two, maybe Warner Brothers decided that mid-October was not a good time, a week before everyone has their money set aside for Mario Wonder, Sonic Superstars, and a plethora of other titles releasing on other platforms. Maybe they didn't think sandwiched between Detective Pikachu Returns and Mario Wonder was the best place for this game. And since Nintendo is effectively not releasing a major title and taking December off, maybe that's a better time. I would like to believe that Warner Brothers and Rocksteady, after all this time, could make Batman Arkham Trilogy work and run well on Switch. I want to believe that. I want to believe that this is a cover for we just don't think it's going to sell well. And let me tell you, there's many games that released this year that came out poorly timed. They came out, unfortunately, either between two big titles, right before another big title, and it really bit them in the butt. It KO'd them before they even had a chance to start gaining momentum. It's really sucky if you make a good game and it can't sell, and given that this is a port and an old game already, what's a few more months? Hopefully, it does not impact their sales negatively, but does benefit them, because I'd like to see Warner Brothers, and Batman in particular, take a larger role on the next Switch console. But you'll be waiting till December 1st for Batman Arkham Trilogy if you are going to end up picking it up. Now, I want to hear your comments on this one. Please give me your feedback, because I found this fascinating and, like I said, bizarre. Okay, I find this very strange. I find this weird. I don't like it. There's this discussion about Nintendo Switch 2 backwards compatibility being completely unnecessary. And as someone who always likes to look ahead, as someone who doesn't really like to replay games, as someone that always wants max value pushing forward, I gotta say I completely disagree. I read this and I said, wow, even though I probably won't take advantage of backwards compatibility all that much, given how much we've invested in the Switch, this is absolutely bonkers. It needs to have backwards compatibility. Nintendo Life posted this soapbox talking about major reasons why the Switch, of all the new consoles, the Switch 2 needs backwards compatibility the least. And as far as I can tell, they made three major points. And I want to cover them. I want to give you three counterpoints. Okay? Point number one was that, hey, the Switch is easy to store. It's easy to keep accessible. You can just pull it out. You don't have to set up entertainment space, or you don't need to plug it in. It's not going to get dusty. You just pick it up and charge it and it's good to go. This is not a reason for a company to not include backwards compatibility. I'm sorry. It's just not. Keeping your old system and it can fit in a drawer instead of taking up shelf space is not a good reason. I don't even know that more needs to be said on that front. It's just not a good reason. Because the last console is convenient to play, you shouldn't have backwards compatibility on the new console, which is in theory going to be shaped and styled exactly it just doesn't make any sense. Throw that thing out. The next argument is that, hey, there's been a lot of piracy issues with Switch, and if they're able to completely stamp those out for Switch 2, they should not risk vulnerability by opening it up to Switch 1 games. Now, my friends, this is why you have QA. This is why you have R&D. This is why the company making billions of dollars spends the money to ensure security. It's not my job or your job or our burden to bear that Nintendo had security vulnerabilities in the Switch era. I understand they might have made mistakes, and those did bite them a bit, but let's make no mistake, Nintendo has sold billions of software, they have sold 100 million units of their hardware, they're not hurting for cash. The piracy problem might be frustrating, but it did not put them in a big hole. It did not make this a doom and gloom era like the Wii U. And frankly, if they can't solve it and figure it out, why should we get the rough end of the stick? Why should we not have backwards compatibility? Because they can't get their security straight. Again, I find this argument to be just silly. Their third point is kind of split down the middle into 2 points. The first being that Nintendo can re-release a bunch of the games, which they themselves, I'll give them credit, they acknowledge Nintendo probably wouldn't do, and they absolutely should not. Reselling us an entire library when we just bought all these games and now you're going to make us buy them again is silly. The only reason it worked well with Wii U games was because the Wii U sold so poorly they couldn't move software at any decent clip, and so most people hadn't even heard of or played games like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze or Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. They can't resell us their entire Switch library again on Switch 2, nor should they. That would be horrible for mindshare, for good graces, and it would suck for us as fans. But the other point they make is that by separating backwards compatibility, it will clearly delineate that this is a new system, and we won't run into the Wii U issue where they think potential buyers think it's maybe the same system. As far as I'm aware, as long as you name the thing right, backwards compatibility should have no impact on confusion about what system it is. PlayStation and Xbox have backwards compatibility, and people aren't confused about which is which. And in Xbox's case, those names are already pretty confusing. But let's look at the Sony side of things. As long as you just sequentialize the naming, PlayStation 3, 4, 5, it's not confusing. If we just call this Switch 2, ta-da, we can have backwards compatibility. I don't think that, again, consumers and past buyers should be punished because Nintendo can't make a good enough name and good enough marketing plan to distinguish between what the two consoles actually are. That's on them, not on us. And the whole general vibe I get with this article is that, like, oh, Nintendo might fumble the bag, so don't do backwards compatibility, it's hard. It's not true. Backwards compatibility has been done for generations now, and it's something that we should expect, not wish for. It shouldn't be a, wow, they did this for us. It should be, yeah, it's there. Here's 3 good reasons why backwards compatibility does matter a ton, and even if you're not the hugest fan of replaying, it should be there. Number 1, it makes it easier to transition when you know all your games come over. It's tough for some people to justify a brand new system, but if they're able to sell off their Switch to buy a new one, knowing their games will move seamlessly, boom, you've got new console buyers and can help support your next generation and look forward. This idea that the Switch is easy to store in a drawer might be true, but we should be incentivizing consumers to move to the next system, not hold on to the last one. We also bought tons and tons of Switch software. Tons and tons. There are so many Mega Million sellers, and shouldn't it be the consumer's reward for purchasing all those games that they can work for at least one more console generation, rather than they can't work and are island stuck on one specific piece of hardware? Like, investing all that in software goes to show how strong of a brand you've built, and to just cut that off feels like you're spiting your nose just to shoot your face. Spite your, what is it? What's the saying? Spite your face just to chop your nose? Somebody's getting their nose chopped off, and I don't like it. That's basically what I'm saying here, okay? We need these games to carry over to not only incentivize upgrades, but to remind buyers that, hey, you buy these games, and we know that. We noticed that. You bought a lot of games twice. You bought Mario Kart twice. Some people bought 2 copies of Animal Crossing because they limited the islands per Switch. Like, we don't want you to have to buy things again. It's a really not great reason. The third reason that backwards compatibility should absolutely be a part of this is because the competitors make it happen. If the competitors make it happen, Nintendo is trying, at least it seems, with this generation, and even with the Switch, to make themselves more comparable, more modernized, more in line with the other console platform holder systems. If PlayStation can do it and Xbox should do it, no longer do we have this idea that Nintendo can't. Oh, Nintendo can't do good online. Nintendo can't do sales. Nintendo can't do region free. Nintendo can't do backwards compatibility. That's all nonsense. Nintendo has the know-how and they have tons of money. They made the Switch region free. There's been tons of awesome sales throughout the life cycle of the entire system. The online is significantly improved. They can do backwards compatibility. This no more is little Nintendo trying their best to be a modern 21st century gaming company. No, they're there, they have the money, they have the funds, they have the team, they have the know-how. There's no excuse for no backwards compatibility. I could see if the Switch 2 was going to be drastically different. Like instead of a portable hybrid, now it's just this uber beefed home console that doesn't detach from the TV whatsoever. Maybe then. But even then, I still think you should work your hardest to make it happen. If security is an issue, overcome it. If brand confusion is an issue, go back to the drawing board for your marketing. All of these things are on Nintendo to accomplish, achieve, and work through, not for us to bear the burden of. No backwards compatibility is a burden, make no mistake. You gotta either keep your console, have a blank slate of no games, or not upgrade at all. And that's not very fair, and that's not consumer friendly. So I starkly oppose the idea that backwards compatibility is very unnecessary for Nintendo Switch 2. In fact, I think building on their most successful generation in ages, building on the brightest spot Nintendo has had, maybe since the Super Nintendo, building on one of the coolest libraries of games you've ever had, it is downright imperative that there's backwards compatibility. It'll make everyone feel so good. And it actually will help continue forward the Switch family of systems to be something that can have longevity and can be Nintendo succeeding in a transition, Nintendo succeeding 2 generations in a row, something that has been hit or miss for them. Backwards compatibility may not be my biggest wish, but it's something the system should have. And even if it boils down to it should have it because it can have it, it still should have it. We deserve that much, especially after making Nintendo so much freaking money. Let me know what your take is in the comments down below, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. And until next time, SwitchForce out.